Hey everyone, how's it going? So this video is going to be a couple of different segments, and I'm going to compile it into one. I'm at the house and working in the garage here on the Camaro. Now I read a couple of your comments. I actually got quite a few comments where people said they want to see everything that I'm doing, and I honestly thought that all the mundane little things of unbolting stuff, I just thought it would be tedious, but apparently you guys really want to see that too. So I'm going to try to start showing you all of that from now on, especially on this Camaro. Last night when Meg and I finally got home, I'll give you an update on Meg. She had her physical therapy yesterday and everything went very well, and she actually was able to drive for the very first time for about 15 minutes yesterday. We live out in the country, so I took her on some back roads during the day, and she was able to drive for about 15 minutes, and she was doing very well. So, like I said, the back roads here are very quiet. So, and it's not that she's restricted by a doctor. Doctors never said she couldn't drive. She knows she can't drive. So, anyway, I figured I'd throw that out there. But she's doing much, much better, and everything's progressing forward. So anyway, by the time everything got settled and done yesterday, and I finally got into the garage, my phone was dead. I wasn't able to record anything, and I figured, I'll just spend a couple of minutes out here. Next thing I know, it's like 11 o'clock at night, and I did a little more than I actually anticipated. I apologize for not showing you all of that, but I'm going to try to make sure that I stay on top of it from now on. But let me show you where I'm at. What I wound up doing was I wound up removing the wiring harness from underneath the hood, and I got out the AC compressor and the accessories that are on the passenger side there. So let me just show you where I'm at. So here we go. And now you can see there's definitely more room here. But you still got like the air pump tubes and stuff like that are all in the way. I don't know. There's probably not enough clearance between the cowl and the intake to be able to take the motor out with the intake on it. Because my goal is to actually take the motor out from here. That is my goal. I'm going to be eliminating the ABS system in the car. It's going to have standard brakes, not ABS. So all of that's going to be gone. But yeah, there's that wonderful distributor that GM designed. Here is the harmonic balancer, and it's bolted on, just 3 bolts hold it in place. So I took those out. I did have to use a puller because it was actually stuck in place. It actually rusted itself in place. So, yeah. So there's this wonderful, wonderful distributor. But I figure for right now, what I'm going to do is I am actually just going to pull that distributor cap off so you get to see what this wonderful piece of engineering actually looks like. And I mentioned before that this was driven off the cam, and I might be mistaken. I don't recall, but I got a funny feeling this is actually geared and the cam is down lower, and the cam is what drives the distributor. I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm going to wind up taking all of this apart so you guys can see it. But yeah, let me go ahead and let me see if I can. Hopefully I actually have the tool to get these out. Because you see those little, I believe they're E4s, but the ones down here, they sit inside there, and I'm not sure if I actually have a deep enough socket to get to it. Let me see what I got, and let's see what we could do. Alright, so here it is. Here's a little tiny E4 Torx. But this is all I have at home here. Hopefully this is going to work. If not, then I'll have to do this tomorrow because I have the correct socket at work. And no, it's not going to work. It can't grab it. It's not deep enough to grab it. Yeah, it'll grab these. And they actually might break. Yep, they break. Wonderful, wonderful design by General Motors. Yep, it broke. Let's see if this one breaks. Oh, and that one broke. Okay, so yeah, double win right there. Let's see, one other thing that I want to cover here real quick. Now, I'm not quite sure how far I want to go with this car. There's a company here in North Carolina called Rock Solid Motorsports. And they build some pretty serious versions of these cars for racing. Now, this car is going to be a street strip car. I don't want it to be an all-out race car, but there are certain aspects about this car that kind of suck. So one thing is this radiator support, and the fact that they angle the radiator. Terrible design. So what I'm thinking of doing, Rock Solid Motorsports sells a kit. And in the kit, what you do is you lob off basically the entire front of this car. And you weld in plates at the end of the frame horns, and you weld in up there these metal supports, and it's an entire kit. And the kit will come forward, and it'll allow you to bolt the stock front end back on. But it gives you a lot more room up front here, especially if, say in the future, which I might, I don't know, but that's in the future, I might want to put a turbocharger on this car. And if so, you may have to have it mounted here somewhere to do so, but it takes up a lot of room. Plus, I'd like to have a conventional up-down style radiator. So I don't know if I want to do that yet. I can't decide, but like I said, name of the company is Rock Solid Motorsports, and check them out, see what you think. Let me know what you guys think. For now, though, I may cut this radiator support out of this car and fabricate something new to hold a radiator in a conventional manner. I've seen a few different videos where people do different things to these to kind of achieve that. So I might watch those and try to get some kind of an idea. But I think that's going to be it for tonight because it's a late day already. I mean, it's dark already outside. So I don't know. All right, so we'll continue this video probably tomorrow night because I think the next steps are time to pull the transmission out. So we're going to have to be underneath the car and figuring that out. Okay, so I realized I forgot that socket that I had at work. I know I have the E4 at work. It's a Snap-on. And because Snap-on was the only one that had it at the time when these stupid things came out. But I ran to Harbor Freight, picked these up. This has a deep E4 on it. So I figured, what the heck, it doesn't hurt to have them because you never know. Maybe somewhere, some point in time, somebody will have something else that's so stupid it requires this. All right, so let's try to get in there and actually do this. Is my light on? Yes, it is, but I want to shut it off. All right. Let me put you in a tripod here. Whoops, sorry. And actually, let me get another light. So this way you can see a little better. How's that work for you? It works pretty good. All right. Let me actually pop the rest of these wires off. So that's the coil. Obviously, I don't care about firing order, so I just willy-nilly tear them all off. And like I said, I believe you can convert this short block to a standard old small block Chevy. I mean, it is a standard old small block Chevy, per se. I can't tell if that's coming loose or broke. I think it broke. I mean, all of these broke right here. Oh, I think that one broke too. All right, let's find out. There it goes. Look at that. The it's such a stupid design. It's got vacuum hoses hooked to it to try to help prevent moisture from building up inside. It's just a terrible design. In case I didn't mention it before. But look at that. Look. Would you look at that? And here's the broken bolts. Yeah. So, but those broken bolts go into the aluminum housing here. Obviously, there's been squirrels and stuff. Oh yeah, and then, yeah, that rotor's hammered. I think it's probably been replaced at one point, but you look, see the little tiny bolts there? Those look to be probably an E4 male. But just, what a hokey design. All right, well, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna move to underneath the vehicle and we're gonna start taking everything off underneath it. So hopefully I have it up high enough for me to actually work underneath it and do what I gotta do. If not, I gotta jack it up. The front is easy. The front I can go much higher with. The rear, I can't really get it to go much higher. Maybe I gotta put air in those airbags and make the rear suspension really stiff because I jack it up on the center of the differential, but it's basically at its limit for the floor jack, you know, because it compresses the suspension. All right, let's go underneath this thing. Now, actually, before we do any work underneath the vehicle, I got to take the shifter out because that's my main goal, is pulling the transmission out. If I can get the engine out today, that'd be great too, or tomorrow. It is the weekend, in case you didn't know it. So, all right, let me show you what I got. So, I'm going to have to keep you over here on this side. Hopefully this will be good for you to see. Shut that light off. And let me move in. Now, I have actually never had one of these apart. That is a Hurst shifter. So I'm going to have to see what's involved. I actually had another thought. Hang on one second. Okay, so I actually realized I had my good microphone with me. Even though for a good microphone, it still has a tendency to get a little wobbly or warbly or whatever you want to call it when I talk. All right, so we got to figure out how to get the shifter off. There's a nut underneath here, like a jam nut, to jam the actual shifter in place. Let me get an adjustable wrench for that. Just got to walk over to the toolbox. This console is actually broken, so I'm not sure what to do with it. So there's a jam nut underneath here, and I had to loosen it so I could loosen the shift knob. All right, so this all comes up, and there is a booty in there, and the shift rod itself I have to unbolt, and it's just two. Can't tell if they're 9/16. I think they're 9/16. Okay, let me see if I can't show you what I got. Oh, you can see the bolts. All right, so let me go grab some wrenches and see what I can't do with that. All right, so what I have to do is walk from one side of the car to the other after I turn the camera on. Oh, and they're 1/2 inch. Darn it. All right, let me try that again. Sorry, my bad. Really thought they were 9/16. And like I said, unfortunately, this transmission is not going back into this car. This transmission is going to go into the Hornet. Now, Hornet's going to be a very budget build car, because that one's just going to be a street car. All right, so it turns out these bolts actually go through the shifter and go through the shifter and thread into the actual stub shaft that's coming out of the transmission. At least it's what it appears like so far. And then the nuts are put on the other side to jam it in place. Actually, let me do the top one. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. Unless these are metric. It's possible it's metric. Yeah. These are metric. All right, let me get a 13. Half inch is very close, but it's a little tight. Let me get a 13 gear wrench on there. So the 5.3 that I'm going to put in there in the Hornet is, like I said, that's going to be a very budget build. That is just going to be a, I might just put a cam in it, clean up the cylinder heads, and stick it in the car just to have something that's a fun drive around car. Yeah, so the stub coming out of the floor, or coming out of the transmission itself, that this handle attaches to, is threaded. And then there's a booty down there. I'm not sure if I got to take the booty off. It's like some silicone or something on there. Maybe to quiet it down. But yeah, it's weird because the shifter has got, I don't know if you could see it, like pleats in there. But usually this piece would have pleats in it to match up. So I'm really surprised it's not there. But now the boot that's down below might be a real pain in the neck to remove. So I might just leave it alone for now. There's a couple of screws there. They look to be 7mm. The rest of this console's got to come out because it's broken anyway. So we'll worry about that later. All right, let's crawl underneath this thing. I think I'm ready to do that finally. Close this door. All right, let's go underneath. Okay, so I tried to crawl underneath there, and there's just not enough room for me to maneuver. So what I did was, those airbags in the rear suspension, there's a fitting right here hanging off the rear bumper, and all I did was just add some air to it. And hopefully that's enough to stiffen up the suspension so I can get a little more height out of this thing. This tripod's not the best, but it seems to be working for low spots. Because like I said, the suspension is going to telescope up, but I want to be able to get more height out of it. So, like I said, there just was not enough room for me. So hopefully with the air pressure in the bags, yeah, it stiffened it way up. Of course, I got coolant running out of the front now. Whoops, hang on a second. Let me go put something underneath the front to catch the coolant that's running out of the motor. I'll explain that in a minute. All right, so I put a bucket underneath the front end. So this way it'll help catch the coolant that runs out of the motor as I jack the back of the car up. That's it. That's the max that this thing is going to pick it up. So now I can adjust the jack stands accordingly. So when you do stuff like this, try to pay attention. Hopefully you can see my hand. Try to pay attention where you are on the frame on each side. And then also, if you can see what I'm doing, I'm counting the notches in the jack stands. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 exposed. So hopefully I can get the other side to 7. Because you want to try to keep the car even. Okay, I got 7 on each side. And these in the back here actually have a locking, like a secondary locking plate that I can stick in there just to be on the safe side. There's a lot of kids on motorcycles running around today. A lot of dirt bike activity. All right, so that's good. So that should be exactly where I want it to be. All right, and then when you let down on a floor jack to settle something onto the jack stands, you want to do it slow and easy. You don't want to go quick and abrupt. Okay. So that should give me quite a bit more height in the back end. Now I'm going to raise the front end. And you can actually see that ladder bar system that my cousin had installed. It's all good stuff. This rear end, though, I don't know how long that's going to last, but we're going to find out, I guess. May have to upgrade this to a 9-inch at some point in its life. All right, let's go to the front end and let's raise the front end up. All right, so let's move this out of the way. A lot of quads running around here. Hang on one second. Oh, he wasn't too bad. I like to use these absorber mats here, these pig mats. They are expensive, but you know what? To me, they save a lot of aggravation with cleanup. So that's why I like to use them. Now, whenever you're using a floor jack to do stuff like this, what I try to do is I try to position the floor jack to come in from whatever position, because as you raise a floor jack, as it's going up, the jack's going to want to naturally pull into the vehicle, or the vehicle's going to want to pull towards it. So since this thing is on jack stands, I want the jack itself to pull and move inward on the vehicle. Sorry, I wasn't looking clearly. Hang on a second. I get myself in a better position here. Okay. And that should be roughly close to center. But what I'm talking about is the casters on the jack itself. This way, when it starts to go inward, actually, let me see if I can focus you on that. The jack itself will naturally go forward. See how it's naturally rolling forward as the jack goes up? And that'll keep you from pulling the vehicle off the jack stands. I've seen that happen before. So in this game of fixing cars and stuff like that, you got to be as careful as possible. So now from here, let's adjust those blue jack stands to fit. And always make sure you're going on a suitable spot on the frame. If you don't have a frame, if it's a full-on unibody that doesn't have frame sections, make sure you're going on the jacking points. I have a bum knee, so sometimes it's a little difficult for me to get around. was hoping I could go one more notch up than what I had, but I can't. So I got a good section on the frame here, which is where I'm going. And this thing actually also has jacking pads, which I might go onto the jacking pad. Yeah, if I can make it work. And yes, I can make it work on this side. So on this side I have, I don't know if you can see it, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 exposed notches. So let me try to do the same with the other side. So I said 5, right? And actually, let me move this thing forward a little more because I want to have more of a space in between the jack stands. So that'll work. Okay. Now these foam pads that I'm laying on, there again, I got them from Harbor Freight. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 exposed. Yep. Make sure it's latched. See, on this side, I might have actually been able to go to 6 because the floor is a little uneven in this garage, but it is what it is. If I was doing something like putting in a roll cage or subframe connectors, then I'd have to make sure that I was on a flat floor. So, all right. So now with that being said, come back over here, and we're going to lower this jack. And like I said, you want to do it slowly because you don't want to disrupt anything because the jack itself is going to start to walk backwards towards me. See it? Okay. So now everything should be straightforward. There you see that beautiful distributor cap bouncing around. But yeah. And then what you want to do before you crawl under anything, give it a shake. This is a very short tripod that I have, so hopefully it works with what you want to see. So now, give it a shake, and everything's good. It's going to move a little bit because these front jack stands are older style that don't have the positive lock in it. They're a good jack stand. They do lock, but you are going to have some movement, especially the higher up you go. So that's perfect. I am not concerned about that. And make sure all your feet are on the ground properly. Talking about the feet of the jack stands. And they do appear to be. Because just remember, you're the one crawling underneath it. All right, let's get ready to go underneath. All right, so let's drain the tranny fluid. Now the reason we're draining the tranny fluid is because we're going to take the dryer shaft out. And on these, you take the dryer shaft out, and when you pull the transmission out, you may have fluid that comes out the tail shaft. I'd rather have the darn thing empty. Be honest with you. So hopefully we don't make a mess. Well, one way to find out. I think this thing just holds standard Dexron tranny fluid. Now I'm actually not going to drain the engine oil. Oops. I'm not going to drain the engine oil until I get the motor out. There's really no reason to.
This exhaust doesn't look like it's going to be fun to take out. It's where a Sawzall's going to come in handy. All right. Let's let that just drain out. It's not like changing engine oil where you have to, or where you should let it drain for quite a bit longer. I'm just draining it out so this way I don't make a mess later on. Dang it. Dropped it in the fluid. And I don't think I brought a rag down here with me, did I? Yes, I did. They're over there. They're over on the other side of the car. So actually, let me tighten that up. I actually have to go through this transmission because if I'm putting it behind a 5.3, the input shaft has to be different because of, I guess, the end of the crankshaft. I'm not quite sure, but I know it has to be changed. Let me just get a rag, wipe some of this stuff up. Hang on. As you can imagine, it's a little tight for somebody of my size to be underneath here, but it is what it is. And trying to film, too, is a bit of a pain. All right, I'm going to slide the bucket out. I know you can't see me, but I'm sliding it out. I'm putting it completely out of my way so I don't accidentally hit it. All right. So now, this thing's in neutral. That's good. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to move to this drive shaft. Let me get you ready. Hard for me to. All right. So now, what we're going to try to do is get these drive shaft bolts out. Use my. I don't know if this gun is going to be strong enough. Nope. And this gun is has got some decent power to it. Nope. Okay. Gonna have to move on to the big boy, and these are some cheapy swivel sockets. I have no clue where I even got them from. So my only choice here is I have that little gun, which is basically like a quarter drive, like your basic screw gun for home. Either have that or this bad boy half-inch drive, DeWalt, which is my old one from work. This should be overkill for these. Okay. Now, normally I would mark the drive shaft. I'm not going to on this. Reason being is because I'm changing so much stuff on this, and I'm probably not using this drive shaft anymore either. I'm probably going to have to get a custom one. Because this car is getting a turbo 400 automatic. And I also got to check to see what gears are in the rear of this. I have no clue. I think it's got 373s. But like I said, I have no idea. And that appears to be an original GM U-joint. See that piece there? That's a strap that connects the caps together. All right, let me get a little pry bar. Tell you what, that rear end's got a lot of slop in it. I don't know how well it's going to hold up to 500 horsepower. But I guess we're going to find out. Might be finding out the hard way, but we're going to find out. I get this pry bar, which is just out of my reach. Come here. Trying to use another pry bar to get it. A much bigger pry bar. Okay. There we go. There it goes. All right. So now what I should do is get a rag ready, because as I pull this dry shaft out, it may spit some fluid out at the transmission end. Okay. And there we go. That yoke just slid out of the transmission. All right. So that's good. That's out. All right. Let me move back to the other end. All right. So there is an electrical connector right there. You can see that. Just got to reach up and disconnect that. Let me focus on that. And it should be just a matter of grabbing the tab on the other side and releasing it. There it goes. I had actually already cut this harness. It doesn't really matter. Some of you are going to say, oh, why'd you cut the harness? Because I don't care on this car, because it's not getting that same harness. All right. And there's a connector up on the up where the shifter is. And let me show you something real quick, just so you could see it. So from underneath here, that's where the shifter itself goes through the floor. But on this other side, let me maneuver. See that solenoid there? The mouse to the side? That's for what they call a skip shift. It's really, I don't know. It was for fuel economy, and basically, if you were taking off easy, it would shift from first, it would skip second, it would force you over to shift into fourth. And it was just like, first, couldn't stand it. But they made kits to do away with that. This one doesn't have it, though. All right. So I'm going to have to disconnect that. And then also, we're going to take that hydraulic slave cylinder out of there. Maneuver myself. And those should be 13s. This little gun should do this without a problem. It's too big. And like I said, normally I could just go underneath here and do all of this and not think twice about it. But since I am filming, it's obviously it adds time and energy and effort and everything else. But oops, there we go. So this is your slave cylinder. That when you step on your clutch, when you step on the clutch, this piece pushes out. When it pushes out, it pushes against this piece here, which is the clutch fork. You remember me talking about when I was showing you the Ford Escort? This is that clutch fork that gets depressed, and it presses up against the clutch to release it. Okay, so let me see. What do we have to do now? We're going to have to start taking some of this stuff apart here. So while I'm right here, I don't know if this little gun will take these out. It might. Might not. Okay, cool. This clutch was replaced at some point. Well, my son had it. So the clutch shouldn't be too old. I mean, heck, I was doing burnouts with the car. And unfortunately, like I said, I over-revved the daylights out of it, and the motor started, or the connecting rod bearing started singing. They weren't too happy. Tell you what, this little DeWalt gun is pretty darn good, all things considered. It's amazingly strong for its size. Now, what I did on that one, because I didn't want to break free right away, I went and I tightened it a little bit too. Because sometimes just tightening it, the jarring effect of tightening it, will actually make it come free. Let's see. We have over here. Let's see if I can get on this so you can actually see it. Single training mount bolt nut. Okay. That's off of there. And then we're going to have to take this cross member out. And this has got this weird exhaust system on it. And this I'm going to probably have to sawzall out of here. I really doubt very highly this is going to come out nice and neat. But what holds this in place? There should be. There's two nuts up here. This one's right up against. Feels like the tranny mount. So I may have to drop the cross member first. All right, so let's do this. Let me move all my stuff out of the way. And let me get, actually, you know what I'm going to do first? I'm going to loosen up these cross member bolts, and I'm going to take one out on each side, leaving one in place. All right. All right, I can't see. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. All right. So from there, yeah, because I really doubt very highly I'm going to get these bolts out of this exhaust. But you know what? Let me try real quick. What have I got to lose at this point? Nothing. At least if I try, I can tell you that I tried. All right, can you see where I'm at? Let's see. You can see this and this. All right. At least I can say I gave it the old college try, even though I never went to college. Hey, look at that. They're actually coming free. Or at least that one is. Okay. The other thing, too, is when you're laying underneath a vehicle, watch your eyes. Because stuff, dirt, debris, rust will fall into your eyes. Now, luckily, this exhaust won't fall because it goes up and over that torque arm, that aftermarket torque arm piece, which is right here. You can just see the edge of it. I am really impressed that those bolts came out. Okay. All right. All right. So, put those out. Can I get these two out? The short answer is yeah. Yes, I can. Is this thing still recording? Yep. Make sure I didn't accidentally shut it off like I did on that one video. I actually wish I could get the front of this car up just a little bit higher like I did the back end. But it's all right, because once I get the transmission out, I'm going to have to lower the whole car to get the motor out. So we're pulling the motor out through the top. I don't know if you saw what I did there. I jarred the socket just to break it free on the bolt. Because, well, it's still in the threads. It's easier to do that, jar it free, than it is to take it out and then realize you're stuck in the socket. The bracket has a nice little V8 designation on it. I don't know if you can see that. See, because now, see that? The bolt, oh, there it goes. It actually broke free, but you get the idea of how it could be a real pain to get that out of there. So now, this won't come out of there unless I can get these two nuts off on this bracket here. I'm not even sure if you can see what I'm doing. I'm just kind of winging it right now. Can you see what I'm doing? I'm going to maneuver myself. Oh, yeah, you can. Okay. I'm trying to take all the hardware and kind of shove it all roughly in the same spot. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this one off over here or not. Let's see. I can get on it? Yeah. All right. Aha. This one is a through bolt. So it has a head on this side that's actually spinning. So let me see if I have something I can get on there. A wrench, maybe? Let's see. This might be too big. Let me see. Oh no. I actually have a 5/8 on it right now, and the 5/8 is not the right size, but because I can only go at a really weird angle, it's actually enough to hold it. That's the other thing too. Besides stuff falling in your eyes, be wary of falling tools that'll clock you in the face, or the eye, or the noggin. Okay, that's out of the way. I've done that before. Split my head open with a falling tool. Oops. And there you could see. This one's actually on a welded stud, I think. That's actually what holds. No, okay, maybe. I thought it holds a shifter, but no, this is not an external shifter. This is an internal shifter. I'm thinking old school. All right, let's clean everything up here so I can get a floor jack underneath here, because we've got to let this tranny come down. And like I said, had we not drained the fluid, let the tranny come down at this end, the fluid would start pouring out. All right. All right, I got my camera facing backwards so I can actually see what I'm filming. I got my floor jack underneath here. Nice thing about this particular floor jack is the jack handle, I actually took half of it out. Half the handle actually has like a push, like one of those push balls that goes through a hole, and like you push the ball in and it like releases it. Some of them have a bolt, some of them have like a cotter pin. This has that design, which I find very handy, because in a situation like this where I'm limited on my room, I have a short handle now on the jack. All right. So now the cross member's out. So now we can lower this down. Now I'm going to probably have to figure something else out, because there is no way on earth I'm bench pressing this thing in and out of its opening. That just ain't happening. Okay, so I'm letting down slowly. You don't want to go crazy. All right, that was just an exhaust releasing from the rest of the exhaust. Okay, so now there's actually no tension. As you can see, there's no tension on here. So now I can actually probably reach the upper bell housing bolts. But like I said, I have to come up with something different, because there is no way I'm going to do this by myself. And I am the only one here. And I don't have a welder, because otherwise I would make some kind of a cradle to go on here to hold this transmission. Shoot, I might have to make a Harbor Freight run, I think. But I think what I'm going to do is actually take this jack out of my way so I could see the whole kit and caboodle with the transmission, to see where my upper bell housing bolts are. Here's that harness. Like I said, I cut the harness at the top. I would never do that unless it's a situation like this where I know everything's getting replaced. So I could see one upper bolt there. Gives me one left on each side. I don't know. Good question. Well, this got to fit in there. That is the next good question. battery may be getting weak too. Let me see if I can get a hand ratchet up there. I can actually see the oil pressure switch from here, and it's broken. I think I broke it, but it doesn't matter. All of that's getting changed anyway. Wow, that bolt is tight. Oh. Wow. Yeah, that bolt was tight. Woo. So no wonder this little gun wouldn't take it off. All right, now I probably have one on the other side. But what I'm going to do, to be on the safe side, is I'm just going to catch it in over here. Can you actually see that? No, you can't actually see it, but I think you understand what I'm doing here. I just took that upper bolt out and I put it in a lower spot over here. And the reason for that is because I don't want this thing to all of a sudden come crashing out for some reason. So at least this way there's something holding it. All right, let me go on the other side and see what I could see in terms of an upper bolt. Obviously, I have a transmission jack in my way, so let me make it to the other side. Put I'm just moving the transmission fluid out of my way so I don't make a gargantuan mess. Trying to see what I can see. This exhaust is like completely in my way. I could definitely see one bolt. I can't tell if there's another. There is definitely one right there. And then there's some other. Oh, it's just a vent tube. Don't care about that. All right, let's see if this will take that off. Nope. All right. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. If you're in the same position you were in before, you should be able to. Let's see. Hi. Yeah, the battery must be going weak because this wasn't super tight. All right, there's got to be another bolt in there somewhere. Probably all the way up top. Because I have all of the bolts loose and it's not moving, so. All right, I gotta see if I can get in at a better angle to see this thing. Let me pull the jack and that out of here and then I'm going to reposition myself. I might not record getting those upper bolts out because it's just there's nothing to see because there's no way I can film and do any of that all at the same time. Okay, so there was one hidden one up there, and I broke it free and got it out. And it's the one that's holding that breather tube in place. Remember I said I don't really care about the breather tube? At least I think I said that. Unless I just thought it in my head and never actually verbalized it. Tell you what, there's actually nothing worse than laying underneath a car like this and getting a leg cramp. Because I just got a leg cramp. That sucks. Whew. Okay, so now transmission is loose. So what I might do is get this thing ready with the floor jack, and I might have my daughter Abby come over here and give me a quick assist. All right. Maybe we'll do that. I don't know if you can hear the mower in the background. She's actually outside mowing a lawn, but I think she's almost done. So maybe I'll do that. That'd be the easiest thing in the world to do. All right. Ugh. Let's go that route. Okay, so my incredibly brilliant idea is this, because my daughter had to run out. I got a moving dolly, and I put the spare tire and rim from a Saturn that I have, a Saturn Ion. It's a full-size rim and tire. It's basically I have it for the tire itself. All right. So back to this side. Get one bolt out. All right. She is all free. Hopefully this goes the way I want it to. If not, it's going to be a problem. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's not happy. You know what I might actually have to do is put the floor jack underneath here and lift up on it. It's just my angle is so messed up. That's why I'm having such a hard time. At least that's what I think it is. I can't see. Ugh. Oh, no, wait. Wait a minute. This is a pull fork, right? Because now my fork is hung up. Hold on. I can see it from this side. And Yep, my fork is hung up. Great. All right. Dang it. It's not what I wanted. All right, so now I'm going to have to get the floor jack underneath that setup there. Well, I'm glad I didn't try to pull it out with just me and my daughter, honestly, because that would have been an even bigger disaster. All right. On to the next step. Ugh. All right, I'm going to have to get the floor jack underneath there. Hang on a minute. Now, just so you know, if you look closely, so let me shut this, and let me move this light. You look closely inside there, that's the throwout bearing, and that's the clutch fork hitting it. It's actually engaged into it. The clutch fork has to slide out onto the driver's side first before this whole thing will release. That's the problem I'm having. I didn't realize it was that style. I thought it might be, but I just didn't think about it. All right, so I got the back of the tranny jacked up with the floor jack on the dolly. I know you can't see it. So now I got to move back to the other side to try to unjam the clutch fork. So hopefully you could see everything I'm talking about. I really do hate this style clutch. I don't know why they used it. Okay, so it went in a little bit. So there it is. Now it's out. So now this thing should come back, but I have the jack underneath here, which I know you can't see. All right. So it's not easy to do. I'm trying to jack up on it slightly. Okay. Clutch fork is disconnected, so this thing should technically slide out, but I am hung up. All right. Mostly because of the angle and stuff that I'm at. There it goes. And yeah, that's a brand new clutch. Brand new McLeod clutch. Ugh. Well, even though I don't like... Great. All right. I had just gotten the floor jack jammed into that ladder bar. All right, let me come to the other side. So maybe I can reposition so you can actually see something. Whew. Tell you what, crawling around on the floor ain't my deal anymore. Used to be a long time ago, but not anymore. All right. So as you see, the transmission has cleared its way out. So now it's a fact of getting it off the tire and onto the floor without destroying anything. And you hear the motorcycles going full tilt crazy. All right. Let me figure out how I'm going to do this. At least it's out. That's that's a step in the right direction. So now it's a fact of getting it off of that contraption. All right, let me figure it out. Okay, what I think I'm going to try to do is walk this moving dolly out from underneath this. What I should probably do is somehow strap the transmission to the tire. That actually may not be a bad idea. Let me go get a ratchet strap. Hang on a second. Sometimes you talk about things and you can figure them out while you're talking about them. All right, hang on a second. All right. So, whoops, sorry about that. Can you see that? Yeah, you can. Okay. So I have it. I have the transmission ratchet strapped to the tire. I went through the center hole and I went through this side of the tire. This way, it doesn't roll off of it. That was the one thing I was worried about. So, all right. That actually worked. Sometimes crazy ideas do work. All right, so that's actually off of there. So now I actually have to get the transmission off of that tire. It's still a heavy tranny. Not sure if you can see what I'm doing, but it's precarious. Okay. So it is working out. Let me back you up a little bit. Maybe give you a better view of the nonsense that's going on. Okay. Whew. It's down. All right. One casualty. Ripped off one of the little nubbies on my rubber mats that I lay on. All right, but it's out. I wonder if that's actually a Hurst shifter. I don't think it is. I think it's just a Hurst handle on a factory shifter. Why do I say that? Because a Hurst shifter... I just cut myself, did I? No. Okay. A Hurst shifter, first off, that handle was mounted to this side. The original handle, I think, was mounted to this side. A Hurst shifter has adjustable stops, so you don't overthrow the shifter. In other words, when you're banging gears and you're going first, second, what's stopping it from shifting now is the linkage, the mechanism inside is what's stopping it. And for people that are rough on transmissions, aka me, what will happen is eventually you could break the shift forks inside. The Hurst shifters actually have a positive stop, so the stop occurs here, not inside the transmission. So that's why I'm thinking it was just a handle. Pretty sure that's a factory shifter right there. All right, so let's drag this thing out of here, and then we can work on getting the motor out.
All right, so I had to break this video up because it's just going to be too darn long. So up to that point of pulling the tranny out is one part, then the rest of it's another part. So hopefully you got something out of that. If you did, hit the like button. If you could, please subscribe. All right, guys, have a great day. Keep wrenching.